In Exodus chapter 10, verse 1, it is written like this. Now the Lord said to Moses, Go into Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the heart of his servants, that I may show these signs of mine before him. God created everything with a purpose. In Proverbs chapter 16, verse 1, it is written, The Lord hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. God hardened the heart of Pharaoh. Why? Because the name of the Lord has to be declared in all the earth. And it is written in John chapter 15, verse 8, If you bear much fruit, my Father in heaven is glorified. Dear believer, let us introspect ourselves once. How are we bearing? What are we bearing? Are we bearing wild grapes? In Isaiah chapter 5, verse 3 to 7, it is written, it describes how the vineyard owner laments that his vineyard produced wild grapes instead of the expected grapes. If we think that farmer to be the Lord and the vineyard represents God's people, the Lord, the keeper, expects his vineyard to yield good grapes. But we bore wild grapes. And where is our testimony? Where is our fruitfulness? In John chapter 15, verse 8, If you bear much fruit, my Father in heaven is glorified. You are bearing fruit. What kind of fruit is it? Are they wild grapes or good grapes to be eaten, or wild grapes which are sour, which cannot be eaten? In Bible, there is a testimony about Job in chapter 1, verse 8. Did you see my servant Job, in whom there is no blame? Are we living a life of integrity and blamelessness like Job? Why? Because God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And Romans 3:23 says, For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, but yet Job chose to live a life of integrity without blame, without any mistake or sin in his life. And how is our lifestyle today? God needs a person either to be exalted or degraded. God has given salvation to you and to me, to us. And how is our testimony? Is God's name being glorified? In Romans 2, chapter 24, verse, it is written, For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written. Is the name of God blasphemed by our behavior? Let us introspect and ask God's grace and forgiveness. God chose Pharaoh, and God hardened his heart that God's name may be declared among all the earth. God gave us salvation that we may bear much fruit, and the name of the Lord will be exalted in all the earth, that we may deny ourselves daily, take up our cross, and humble ourselves and follow Christ. How are we following Christ? If we are not following in God's terms and conditions, in His will and His word, we are not doing God's purpose, or God's purpose is not accomplished in our lives. Let us ask God for forgiveness. As long as we live, only we can come to the throne of grace with repentance to ask God for forgiveness, that we may bear much fruit, we and our families and the universal church and all the saints. May the grace and peace of God be with all of us. Shalom.